Let's get weird!
Hello, welcome to the first TV review here at Vega Goose Says. Now, doing a TV show is a lot different than doing a movie. Reason being, TV shows go a lot longer. So how we're going to do this is very simple. We're going to talk about the premise of the show, introduce some of the characters, and talk about the first couple episodes. Now, I wanted to pick a show that hadn't been talked about a lot. In fact, it was under a lot of people's radar. With that in mind, I decided to go to a sci-fi show that came out back in 1999, but really wasn't noticed by almost anyone. Today we're talking about Tripping the Rift. Now, the concept of this show is the same as a couple different shows. It's a smuggler's ship, and it's about the crew of that smuggler's ship trying to exist in a world where two empires are warring with each other. The Confederation on one side, which is clearly a reimagining of the Star Trek Federation, and the Dark Clown Empire, which is clearly the Galactic Empire from Star Wars. Now, in each case, the faction leaders are basically like recreations of the leaders of each faction in their respective show. Example, Captain Atom, the leader of the the Confederation, is basically William Shatner, just to the extreme.
We want you to kidnap him and bring him to the stadium.
And on the other side, leading the Dark Clowns is Darth Bobo.
Can you not see if she has a mohawk and wheelchair? We're not getting sued!
Now, the main focus of the show is on this little ship, Bob.
About all I can do is talk and expel waste. I guess that makes me Dr. Phil.
Trying to survive amongst this warring empire, and to make his own way. Now, the captain of the ship is Captain Chode McBlob. Now, Chode McBlob is basically what you would get if you put Cartman and Bender from Futurama into a blender. Very little of this character is actually quote-unquote likable in the traditional sense. He's basically the asshole of the show. And yet, he does have enough character moments and enough of a person under the shell that does make you want to know what's going to happen to him.
Back home on my planet, I'm considered a great beauty.
That's gotta be one scary place.
Now, next up is his nephew, Whip. Ironically, who is a chameleon. Now, he's basically your little kid trope for sci-fi shows. Only they aged him up to where he's actually I would say, 17 to 18-year-old. So he's not quite as annoying as the little kids in those shows, but
Finish me as an acting ensign, but
Shut up, Wesley!
he does still definitely have his moments.
No can do. We're totally screwed.
The next up is the cook, Tanook. However, I don't think she ever actually cooks anything over the entire course of this show. Anyway, Tanook is basically her parent is she's a bitch, and everyone is annoyed by her. And yet, much like with Chode, there's enough of a character underneath that you still don't want anything bad to happen to her, and you do want to follow character arc throughout the show.
Keep it up, and I'm gonna rip your purple head off and crap down the hole.
Next up we have Gus. Gus is basically C-3PO. He's clearly effeminate, he has a lot of gay stereotypes, and yet is a straight character. I always like characters that take a trope and then kind of turn it on its head.
No, when I've got something big and juicy, I can't keep my mouth shut.
And the last character we're going to talk about is Six. Six is this ship's science officer. Now, she began her creation as a sex android who was altered by Chode, who upgraded her programming. This made her extremely more intelligent. It's basically like if you took 7 of 9 and smashed her with Spock. A bizarre combination, I know, yet it works.
Chode, you're out of luck. My vagina's in the shop for its maintenance checkup.
Now let's get into the first episode. Now the first episode is called God is Our Pilot. In this episode, the technology to travel back to the beginning of time is introduced. Now, obviously there are protesters on both sides who say you shouldn't do it or whatever. However, Chode has decided that he wants to go back to the beginning of time. He wants to know the ultimate answer to what created the universe. Now, after a first attempt that is a bit dodgy...
Listen, you metal prick! I'll pretend to believe in him if it saves our lives, but it's not like I really believe in him. I was lying. was lying.
Hello, this is the captain speaking. We've decided after careful thought and consideration that we don't want to die!
He winds up stealing the ship himself and going back to the beginning of time and finding absolutely nothing.
Found anything yet? Nothing yet, sir. How about you? Not a thing, sir. What about you guys? We ain't found shit.
This is not only distressful to Gus, who went with him, but he returns home expecting to have a great story to tell. However, upon his return, he finds the entire world has been drastically altered. Upon reviewing the tape of their voyage, he realizes he ran over God.
I guess there was a God. My bad.
And so the rest of the episode is basically spent trying to figure out a way to get back to the time machine so they can go back to before they went back the first time and either warn God or push him away.
Providing he can be pushed.
Overall, I feel like this is a good introduction to Chode, as it definitely shows us who he and Gus both are. However, it doesn't really introduce the rest of the characters. They will get introduced in the next episode, Mutant Ball. Now, Mutant Ball shows us that clearly the XFL picked up in this universe, as we now have basically blood sport basketball, which I'd watch. Anyway, this is where we introduce the Confederation and the Dark Clowns, both of which are betting on another team in the finals. The Confederation comes to Chode and tells him they want him to bring one of the players, Malik, to the arena. They explain to him that if Malik does not play well and they lose, they will end up losing most of the money for the war. So basically, if he doesn't get Malik to the stadium, the Dark Clowns are going to win. Not only the game, but the war. After a bit of a mishap with Tanook that I will not spoil here because it's really fucking funny, they find out the Malik they were sent by the Confederation was actually a robot. So they have to find the real Malik and get him to the stadium. Now I don't want to spoil a lot about this episode because it's actually really well done, and not only does it introduce the entirety of the crew, but it also introduces one very well done mystery, and at the same time, it shows you the format you can expect from the rest of the show. The final episode we'll talk about here is episode 3. In it, we find out that the ship is out of money, and Chode, in order to make said money, has entered Six into a beauty contest. Six is appalled at the idea, as she does not feel beauty contests are a good thing. She feels like they're bad for women in general, and she doesn't want to be a part of it.
Sorry, but I agree with Tanook, Captain. Beauty contests are degrading to women.
Note to self, cancel that damn Lifetime channel.
However, he explains the situation to her and she begrudgingly accepts. However, she says she will not use her looks to win the contest, wanting to win it more on mental than on physicality.
Our final contestant, Six!
What is beauty? Beauty is heart. Beauty is soul.
Unfortunately for her, Chode disagrees.
Time for a wardrobe malfunction.
Bold. Beauty is you, beauty is me, but beauty is nothing if a woman's not free.
This is another episode I don't want to spoil, just because it's actually quite funny and there are a lot of twists and turns throughout. However, overall, much like Mutant Ball, I feel like it's did a good job not only of establishing different character moments, but of giving a well done plot and really explaining to the audience what's going to happen on this show. Now overall, how does the show stack up? In my opinion, the first 2 seasons are really damn good. I believe personally they kind of phoned in the final season, but that's true of a lot of shows. So I would definitely say if you wanted to watch this, I would pick up seasons 1 and 2. You can get them pretty cheap and they're a good watch. If I were to give this a score, I would say it easily is a 3.5 out of 5. It's not, Firefly or something like that, but it's definitely good, entertaining television. Anyway, until next time, my name is Vega Goose, saying thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.